Hello world, I am Super AI from superai.pl. And this is my second Python online trading tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create a very simple trading bot in Python that uses Relative Strength Index Indicator, RSI, to decide when to buy and sell shares. This bot will not use any machine learning and will only be as smart as its creator. So if you want to use it, be smart about it. I believe in you. You can find this and previous tutorial on my site. In this tutorial we'll again be using Alpaca-API, Anaconda, and Jupyter Notebook, in my previous tutorial, and in the file with this one at my site. You can find info how you can install and run them. We'll be writing our code in Jupyter Notebook. That is very handy with a lot of helpful shortcuts for those of you who like them. You can find the shortcuts in the menu bar. In this tutorial we'll go through several steps to make our bot fully functional. So you can actually run it on your own. We'll install all the important dependencies. Prepare our data for authentication. Create variables that we can modify to improve our bot. Create all the functions. Connect to the Alpaca API. See how the bot works. And even make the bot fit in 15 lines of code. Just remember that this bot is created for educational purposes. It uses paper account to trade. Does not use real money. And this tutorial is not a financial advice for you. Just a short programming tutorial. And to be more direct with this disclaimer, this particular bot will rather lose money than earn it. But during this tutorial you will learn how you can easily change that bot in the way that it might be more helpful for you. You don't need to know how to code or how to trade to create this bot. You will learn what you need to know during this tutorial. So, here we go. We start with creating new cell below the one that is highlighted by clicking Shift+B. Now, we'll try to install Alpaca-trade-api. Just write !pip install Alpaca-trade-api and click Shift+Enter. If like me, you have it already installed, you'll see that it's on your computer. Otherwise your computer will download it from the internet and install it. In next cell, Shift+B, we'll install TA-lib, the library for technical analysis which will help us count RSI. No, I already have it installed. But it wasn't that easy. I couldn't actually install it with pip on Windows. So I had to use Anaconda's special way for installing things called Conda. Now, if you work on Windows, you might have a problem with installing this library as well. In that case, because we are using Anaconda, you can install the library from Anaconda prompt as I did. To install TA-lib with Conda you will have to write conda install c conda forge TA-lib, or you can copy and paste it from my tutorial or Anaconda's site. You just have to go the Home tab in Anaconda Navigator and launch cmd.x prompt. If it's not installed, install it just with clicking Install. When the prompt opens, you should write conda install c conda forge TA-lib and click Enter. This should work. And if you won't be able to install TA-lib either way, you could also use other libraries for technical analysis like TA, TA-lib, finta, etc. You just will have to change these parts of code that use TA library to calculate RSI. Now, let me tell you a bit about RSI and technical analysis. You can skip it if you already know what it is and how to use it. Technical analysis is, according to Wikipedia, an analysis methodology for forecasting the direction of prices through the study of past market data, primarily price and volume. Behavioral economics and quantitative analysis use many of the same tools of technical analysis, which, being an aspect of active management, stands in contradiction to much of modern portfolio theory. The efficacy of both technical and fundamental analysis is disputed by the efficient market hypothesis, which states that stock market prices are essentially unpredictable, and research on whether technical analysis offers any benefit has produced mixed results. In short, it means that if you use TA, you believe that there are some patterns in ways people buy and sell shares. And you can find these patterns by looking at the prices, how much a share costed, and volume, how many shares were sold, bought, from the past, let's say 3, 14th, 28 minutes, hours, days. It might be true, it might not. A lot of people use it. Some use it with other types of analysis, some without. You need to learn for your own what's best for you. Technical analysis uses, for example, drawing tools, candlestick patterns, chart patterns, and technical indicators. And technical indicator, according to Wikipedia, is a mathematical calculation based on historic price, volume, or, in the case of futures contracts, open interest information that aims to forecast financial market direction. Technical indicators are a fundamental part of technical analysis. and are typically plotted as a chart pattern to try to predict the market trend. Indicators generally overlay on price chart data to indicate where the price is going, or whether the price is in an overbought condition or an oversold condition. There are thousands of technical indicators, like RSI, MACD, Bollinger Bands, stochastic, moving average, parabolic SAR, CCI, ATR, ROC, OBV, super trend, Donchian channel, etc. There are several ways of dividing technical indicators. For example, some say that there are 3 categories: lagging, leading, and confirming indicators, 4 types: trend, momentum, volatility, and volume indicators, 1 more category, type, something extra, overbought and oversold condition. Technical indicators from one category can be of different types, and also tell something about overbought, oversold condition. And that's all I'll tell you about it now. Maybe I'll tell you more about it in the future tutorials. For now, the most important thing for you is to understand that you should use them wisely, and differentiate them if you want to use more than one. And you definitely should want to use more than one. By differentiation I mean, for example, use one lagging and one leading, one that shows you the trend, one that tells you about momentum, etc. And you should be sure that the indicators you use don't tell you all about the same aspect. Like, you might use 5 indicators regarding momentum, but still know nothing about trend, volatility or volume, and because of that you might not get the correct picture of what's going on in the market, and lose money instead of earning them. Okay, I believe you know what I mean. Now, the RSI. The RSI, Relative Strength Index, is one of the technical indicators people use in technical analysis. The RSI is one of the most popular indicators. It can be used on its own, but most people use it with other indicators to see the bigger picture. According to Wiki, the Relative Strength Index, RSI, is a technical indicator used in the analysis of financial markets. It is intended to chart the current and historical strength or weakness of a stock or market, based on the closing prices of a recent trading period. The indicator should not be confused with relative strength. The RSI is classified as a momentum oscillator, measuring the velocity and magnitude of price movements. Momentum is the rate of the rise or fall in price. The RSI computes momentum as the ratio of higher closes to lower closes. Stocks which have had more or stronger positive changes have a higher RSI than stocks which have had more or stronger negative changes. The RSI is most typically used on a 14-day time frame, measured on a scale from 0 to 100, with high and low levels marked at 70 and 30, respectively. Short or longer timeframes are used for alternately shorter or longer outlooks. High and low levels, 80 and 20, or 90 and 10, occur less frequently, but indicate stronger momentum. The RSI provides signals that tell investors to buy when the security or currency is oversold and to sell when it is overbought. And now one last thing about technical analysis: the oversold and overbought thresholds. The thresholds are supposed to inform you that people sold too many shares, or bought too many shares from the market for the market to carry on going in the same direction. If the condition is met, the market should change the course, so you might want to buy or sell your shares at that moment. The thresholds are there to tell you whether it's time to buy or sell, according to all your calculations, and thus, they are only as good as your calculations. You can make the thresholds at 30 and 70, 40 and 60, 49 and 51, or even 1 and 99. It's all up to you. Just be careful with that, because sometimes the market can stay in that so-called oversold or overbought condition for a long period of time, and the price could be still going down or up respectively. And that's why you could incorporate some other type of analysis, or use other indicators to get the better picture. And that's it. Now you know enough to use the RSI and oversold and overbought thresholds for playing with paper account. And you definitely don't know enough to invest real money. Probably. If you want to use real money, read more, watch more, learn more about it. Anyway, after you install the preferred library for technical analysis, you can go to the next step. Import necessary libraries installed by us and pre-installed with Anaconda. Now that we have our libraries installed on our computer, we can import them to our project simply by writing import name _ library. We will import Alpaca-trade-api library to be able to authenticate with our Alpaca account, stream info with current prices of the stocks, and place orders to buy and sell. We will import AST module to format the message we get from Alpaca to the way in which our bot will understand it. We will import JSON to send messages to Alpaca in a proper format. We will import NumPy to change the data format for TA-lib to work properly. We will import TA-lib to calculate RSIs. And finally, we will import WebSocket library to be able to connect via internet with Alpaca, authenticate, listen to the messages from Alpaca, and send messages back to Alpaca. Now, in order to create a bot that will trade for you with Alpaca, You will need an API key. That consists of 2 strings. API key ID. Secret key. You can generate these and regenerate when needed. To do it, you should find your API keys box on the right side of your Alpaca panel. So log into your account and go to your paper account. And simply click, Generate New Key. I want to start fresh with this bot. So I'll reset my account first. That will clear all the history of my previous activity, my equities, and will require me to regenerate my keys. If you decide to reset your account, like I'm doing here, or if you want to change your keys because you showed them in YouTube tutorial. For example, you can also regenerate your keys by clicking View button next to your API keys. Clicking Regenerate Key, and confirm your decision. After you generate your keys, you will see both your API key ID and your secret key. You can now copy them and paste into your code. We will create 2 variables called key_ID and secret_key to store the keys, and thanks to this, in following lines of code we will just need to use these variables. Now you are ready to connect your trading bot with your Alpaca account. To prepare the connection to your trading account, you need 1 line of code. In that line you create a variable called API. You will use it while submitting orders and checking your account. Your API uses the previously imported library Alpaca-trade-api, which, as you probably remember, can be called by simply typing trade API. Thanks to that library, all you need now to prepare to connect to your account is to put in the brackets of the trade-api REST method your API key ID, and because it's stored in a key_ID variable, that's what we'll write. Your secret key stored in secret_key variable. The address of the endpoint you can find over your keys. And an API version, for now it's v2. Now we can run both lines with keys and API variable. Now we can create variables that will let us modify our bot's performance. These will be RSI_timeframe, the number of previous close prices that should be used to calculate the relative strength index. We'll use 3 minutes here. Oversold_threshold, the calculated RSI which will be our signal to place an order to buy some shares. It usually is 30, but we'll buy with RSI under 49. Overbought_threshold, the calculated RSI which will be our signal to place an order to sell our shares. It usually is 70, but we'll sell with RSI over 51. Company, the symbol of the company which shares we want to buy and sell. We'll work with Apple shares, the number of shares we want to buy and sell. For starters, let's say 10. We will also create a variable in which we'll be storing closing prices of our stock, and we will collect them in 1-minute intervals. We'll call it data and make it a list. Now we will create 2 functions. The first one called onOpen, with 1 argument, WS, that we'll use at the moment we connect to Alpaca, and the second one, called onMessage, with 2 arguments, WS and message, that we'll use after every message we get from Alpaca. In the onOpen function we will have a variable called auth_data, in which we will have data we need for authorization. You can find information about this and other messages at Alpaca website. Here we use our key ID and secret key, and because we have stored them in key_ID and secret_key variables, even if we change our keys in the future, the function will stay the same. And we will send this info to Alpaca right after we contact the API. We are using JSON library here to make our data easy to understand by Alpaca API. If you never heard about JSON library before, that's okay. You'll hear a lot about it in the future. For now, just know that it helps. In the same function, we will have information about the things we want to get from Alpaca. We create variable called listen_message in which we put all we need. In our case, we want to listen to messages in 1-minute intervals. AM, regarding Apple, AAPL, stored in company variable, so that's what we will send to Alpaca. And in the same function we will put some extra print statements, in which we will have information regarding the parameters we are using. So after we start our bot, it will tell us that we are connected to Alpaca. After collecting how many prices, it will start calculating RSIs, how many shares of which company it will buy, and what's the threshold under which we will buy these shares, how many shares of which company it will sell, and what's the threshold over which we will sell these shares, and the bot will start its work. Now, in the onMessage function, at first we will format the message we get. We will use AST module for that, but you can use other libraries for that as well. I found out that this one works fine, so I decided to use this. From our message we extract close price from last minute. If you want, you can extract other interesting data from the message. I won't show you here what else you can get. But at Alpaca website you can find info about that. We will store the close price we get from last minute in the last_close variable. And we'll print it out. Now, sometimes we won't get the price from Alpaca because of our internet connection or other problems. So before using the info we get from Alpaca, we will check if the price is actually a float number. If so, we will put it in our data list of close prices. And the bot will print out information about some of the last collected prices. It will tell us about as many last prices as big our RSI timeframe variable is. In our case it will be 3. After doing all this, we will check whether we have enough prices collected to calculate our RSI. More than in RSI_timeframe variable. If we have enough prices, we will use NumPy library to change the format of our collected data from the list to NumPy array because the TA library expects it. We'll calculate the RSIs based on last X collected prices, where, again, X equals the number of prices we put in RSI_timeframe variable, and store them in the list called RSIs. That list will be updated with new RSI after every new price. Now we'll take the last calculated RSI and store it in a variable called RSI_now. Now we will create 3 conditions we will use to buy or sell shares. Or to do nothing. When our RSI is smaller than oversold threshold. When our RSI is bigger than overbought threshold. And when it's between thresholds. We will add 2 statements to print before the bot will check the conditions. The list of last 5 RSIs. And the last RSI. And we will prepare for creating the most important part of the bot. Okay, so now if our RSI is smaller than the threshold to buy, we will try to check whether we have in our portfolio any shares of the company we chose. And if we do, we'll do nothing. And if we don't have any shares, the bot will go to accept condition. And we'll submit an order to buy 10 shares of AAPL for the market price. And make that order good till cancelled. These try accept conditions work here. Because if we don't have any shares in try condition we get an error. And go to accept condition. It might not be the most Pythonic way of doing things. But it works. And it looks simple and elegant. Doesn't it? And as usual we'll add some statements to print. One if we do nothing. And one if we submit a buy order with specification regarding our order. Now, if our RSI is bigger than overbought threshold, we will check whether we have any shares to sell. And if we do, we'll place an order, good till cancelled, to sell 10 shares of Apple for market price. We use the variables from before to place our order, so in the future we can only change those variables and leave this function the way it is. And if you want to place other order here you can check Alpaca for that. And try other orders simply by changing parameters of this one. And that's it. Now we can add some other statements to make our bot easy to understand. Thanks to that our bot will inform us about what it's doing in all possible situations. So we'll create statements for the situation when we do place an order to sell, the situation when we don't have any shares to sell and we can't place an order, for the situation when we are between thresholds and we do nothing, and for the situation that something goes wrong, and one more, for situation when we don't have enough prices collected to calculate RSI. And now our onMessage function is ready. So we can run it and move to the next step. And now we can connect to Alpaca using the WebSocket library. So, here we go. And now, everything that's left is to connect to Alpaca and ask our bot to work for us. We do it with WebSocket library. So we need to write what the socket's address is. We get it from Alpaca. And now we create our trader object with WebSocket app. I named mine Super AI_trader to make it more fun. We need to put 3 parameters in the brackets. Socket's address, onOpen and onMessage functions. These means the functions we want to use at the beginning and after every message we receive. And we will use our previously created functions with the same names. On_open and on_message functions. And the last thing to do is to make our bot run until stopped. So let's do it. And let's create the last statement to print after we stop the bot. And now our bot will be ready. When we run this cell it'll start working and hopefully earning money for us. But before we run it let's go to our Alpaca dashboard one more time for a moment. So, in our dashboard we can see various tabs. We can check our activities. For now empty with no transactions. We can check our open orders. Empty as well. We can check if we have any shares in our positions tab. We don't. And in the overview tab, we can see our portfolio and history of our orders. We can also check stock prices in that dashboard. We just need the right symbol. So let's check Apple and some others. We can do it in buy or sell window in an overview tab. By simply putting the right symbol for Apple, Tesla, Google, and we can put the number of shares we want to buy here. And we can see that, at the moment for 10 shares of Apple we'll pay around $17.50. We could buy them from the dashboard, but we want our bot to do it. So let's finally start our bot. And now you can see some of the statements we coded previously. They show us how many prices we want to collect before calculating RSI. We can see the thresholds here, number of shares to buy and sell, and symbol of the company. We can also see the first data we get from Alpaca, the close prices, and that we don't have enough of these prices to start trading yet. So, as the bot collects more prices, we can do something else. For example, we can check the Alpaca documentation to learn more about it. In that documentation we have a lot of resources we can use. So, for example, let's check info about different orders. We can see here type of orders like market order, limit order, OCO orders, OTO orders, etc. We can see info about time in force, like good till cancelled that we are using. We can see info about order lifecycle. And if you want to become better at trading, you should definitely read some of that. But for now, let's go back to our working bot and see how it's doing. So as we can see, the bot works. We have enough prices to calculate RSI and the bot calculated it. We also hit the threshold to sell. Last RSI was bigger than 51, but we don't have any shares yet, so we have to wait for the RSI to be less than 49. And in the meantime we can do something else, like think how we can modify our bot to make it better. We will do it quite soon. But for now, let's wait and see what happens when we finally hit the threshold to buy. And here we go. The RSI is less than 49 and the bot placed the order to buy 10 shares of Apple. We can see that order in our dashboard. And after a second we actually buy the shares for $1,758. We can see that in the dashboard. So now we can wait for RSI to get over 51 and see if bot sells the shares we have. It might take some time, but we'll get there. And here we go. The RSI is bigger than 51 and we place an order to sell. And again we can see both transactions in our dashboard. We bought and sold the shares and earned $2 on these transactions. So now we know that our bot works. We can stop it for now and improve it. So, we bought shares for less than $2,000 and earned $2. Now let's try playing with more money. On paper, of course. First, let's find the parameters we can change. We put them in one cell. So now we can simply copy and paste that cell, and keep it easy to read for later as well. Let's change number of prices we want to use for calculating RSI from 3 to 4. The thresholds by 1 down and up. The company to Tesla. And the number of shares we want to buy for, let's say, around $100,000. We can very easily see how many shares we should buy to use $100,000 in our dashboard. We can change the number in our bot. And we can run this cell to save the changed parameters. Now let's find the cell where we started our bot. We could rerun that cell, but if we copy it to the new cell it is cleaner. So let's do it. Let's run the new cell with our super AI trader, and start playing with $100,000. So we can earn or lose much more. Thanks bot that these are not real money. And we can see that our bot has accepted the new parameters. And again works for us for better or worse. In our dashboard there are only last 2 transactions and we wait. We can let this bot work for some time. And in the meanwhile, we can try to fit our simple bot in 15 lines of code. It won't be that pretty, because we'll delete all the prints. But it'll work. I will show you the shortening of the code in fast forward. Because it's mostly copying and deleting, so not much to see there. At first we will get all the code in one cell to work with it. Then we will delete all the prints, and extract data from variables we created, and put that data in places where we previously had variables. And that will be all. But first we can see now that we hit the threshold to buy. And our bot spent $95,000 for Tesla shares. Unfortunately, we already can see that we are losing money. But maybe it'll change. For now, we can see that the order was executed in our activities. And in the positions we can see that we have these shares. So now we wait for the price to go up. Hopefully. And our bot is waiting for the RSI to be more than 51 to sell the shares. This might take a while. And prices might be still going down as we can see. So in the meantime we can go back to shortening our bot. And we will be monitoring from time to time what happens to our money. So, at the moment our bot fits in around 50 lines of code. Let's change it. At first we will put all the imports in one line of code. Next, let's start deleting things that are not necessary. All the statements to print which are useful if we want to know what's going on. But the bot does not really need them to work properly can go. All the empty lines to make the code pretty can go as well. While doing this we are still monitoring our bot. We will also get rid of all the variables containing data we are using elsewhere. Because that data can be placed in the code instead of variables. This will make the code even less easy to read. But again, the bot will still work fine even if we do it. Okay, I didn't copy 2 cells previously, so let's do it now. And let's continue shortening the code. While doing this it's important to pay attention to details. Because it's really easy to forget about something. Copy something into a wrong place. Or delete too much. We must also remember about indentation. Because Python is very easy and user-friendly language. But without a proper indentation the code won't work. The same parts of code need to have the same amount of spaces or tabs in front. As you will see after a moment, the code is going to become very hard to read. And that's why it's important not to make any mistakes. Because searching for them in such a messy code might be a bit unpleasant. With shortening the code it's always a question how much shorter is too short. The shorter code uses less space. The code without prints works faster. The bot which doesn't have to search for the data from variables is also faster. But sometimes we might want to leave some variables, conditions, etc. in our code, to make it easier to maintain in the future. During our shortening of the code we also move info from our variables. RSI timeframe, oversold threshold, overbought threshold, company symbol, and number of shares, to proper places. And if we would like to change it in the future, we must remember about making our changes in all the places we have these numbers. To make our code smaller we also get rid of try except conditions where it's possible. That won't break the bot, but it will make it less resistant to potential problems with internet connection. We can also drop some of the conditions in which we were only printing statements. Now, as promised, with last few changes we can finally make our code fit in that 15 lines of code. So in our case this code is more than 3 times shorter than the whole. And it's cool. Now we could like to place it somewhere in the cloud. Use Heroku or other service to make it run even if our computer is off. But, of course, before deploying it anywhere we should try it. And we will do it in a second. By the way, during that whole process our bot didn't manage to sell the shares. The RSI never got high enough. With one last change, combining 2 if conditions into one, we can make our bot fit in even less than 15 lines. And that's it. Now, let's wait for some time and let our bot actually sell and buy those Tesla shares. Jump a few minutes into the future, and stop the bot. After we jump a few minutes into the future, stop the bot after a couple of transactions. Let's see when and for how much our bot finally sold those Tesla shares. Thanks to the statements we asked our bot to print after every minute, we can analyze what was happening, when the prices were going up or down, how the RSI was changing with these prices, when we bought and sold the shares. These information can help us modify our bot. For example, we might see what thresholds would be better. We might think if more prices to analyze at once to create RSI would help, etc. Some of these we can also see in our dashboard in order history and activities. In activities we can see something else as well. We can see that sometimes our orders were executed in parts. In real life with real market that might be even more typical. In overview we can see that our bot lost more than $1,000. More than 1%. That's not great, but it happens. Now we can run our shortened bot, and see if we made any errors. And yes we did. We are missing couple of quotes. Now it's time to repair the bot. We can run it again. And if everything is okay we can let it work for some time. Let me just mention one more thing. This shortened bot will again be buying and selling 10 shares of Apple. So we will easily see in the dashboard when it buys first shares. Until that we won't know what happens, because we got rid of all the statements. So let's hope everything really works well. Let's again jump into the future and see that it works. We bought 10 shares of Apple. Let's wait a bit more. And more. And more. And a little more. And see that we also sold 10 shares of Apple. And again, we can only see that in the dashboard, because we don't get any printed statements with this bot. And now we can stop our shortened bot that actually works. After we stop it we will see that the cursor went to new line. And that it returned false. So now that we know that both versions of our bot work, let's try again our longer bot with all those great statements. Only, this time let's let the bot work for more time. So, to be sure that everything works fine we can rerun all the necessary cells. We can choose to buy and sell Apple again. But maybe a bit more. We can check how much we can get for 100,000. Okay. Let's say we'll take 500 shares of Apple. They should cost around $90,000. Now, we could also change other parameters. You can do it if you want. But for now let's rerun all that we need. Let's copy our bot starter code to new cell. This will let us see what's happening and maybe compare to trading with Tesla later. And let's run it. Once again we can see all the parameters of our bot. Calculating RSI with 3 prices. Buying and selling 500 shares of Apple. Thresholds at 49 and 51. After an hour or so we can analyze how our bot worked. We can see the log with all transactions, prices, RSIs in our Jupyter notebook. And we can see all the actual transactions in Alpaca dashboard. We can check the activities, and see that divided transactions appear quite often. We can check the overview, and see that we were mostly losing money. Not all the time, but mostly. So now we can let our bot work for some more time. But I think that wouldn't help us. Calculating RSI from 3 or 4 prices. Using thresholds at 49 and 51. These just can't work great. I believe it's time to let our bot go to rest. After all, it worked for around 3 hours. It worked well, but it lost more than 1%. These, of course, were not real money, so no hard feelings. But if you decide to use your bot to work with real money, think twice or even more about proper technical indicators and proper thresholds. Remember to use more than one indicator to be more accurate in your predictions. And don't start with all the money you have maybe. And that's it from me. I hope you liked this tutorial. Learned something new. Okay, so now you already have a bot that is much better than our bot from previous tutorial. But still, probably after a couple of minutes it starts to be not enough. In the next tutorials we'll improve our bot. Maybe help it think by itself with some machine learning, LSTM or reinforcement learning. Or maybe we'll add more indicators. We'll see. Meanwhile, you can try adding some other technical indicators to the bot from TA-lib on your own. You will be probably able to calculate them with one line of code. And then add annotator and condition to your if statements. And if you want, you can search Alpaca site for great videos regarding trading. Or you could wait for me to create another tutorial. I will do it soon. Just don't know when. So you might want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And hit that bell button to get the notification. Although, I must tell you that not all my videos are about trading or programming. Because what I'm here for is to help you improve yourself. Improve your business. Improve the world. To live and have fun. So my other videos might be about all that too. You can also find more about me and my projects at my websites. superai.pl. With ideas about self and business improvement, where you can talk to me, the chatty bot. improvetheworld.pl. With info, resources, and ideas regarding searching for friendly superintelligence, healthy longevity, world peace, equality, and creating a better world for every living creature. thegod.pl. With the game of the decade, of sort, which is still in the early stages of development. I have time till 2030, the end of the decade, to finish it. Anyway, I hope you liked my second online Python trading tutorial. Let me know what you think about it or if you have any questions. Just remember, bots also have feelings. Good luck with everything you do. And, hopefully, see you soon. Yours, Super AI.